Truth Social is a social media platform majority owned by former President Donald Trump and his business partners. These investors say they want to end big tech's assault on free speech.
The type of person to trade X, now Twitter or Facebook, for Truth Social tended to be very passionate Donald Trump supporters.
I don't think that Truth Social was ever a rational endeavor. I see it as a vanity project.
After a buzzy launch, the project has the potential to make the former president a lot of money, despite its struggle to make a profit.
If there's anybody out there that has held since the $10 IPO price, they've roughly tripled their money.
It's certainly not turning a profit right now. A lot of analysts say that it is Trump who is the big draw for these retail investors.
This has all the ingredients of a good old-fashioned meme stock rally.
Share prices for the company can move when the former president breaks big news on Truth Social. Mr. Trump used the platform to confirm that a bullet grazed his right ear in a failed assassination attempt, and to comment on President Biden dropping his 2024 presidential campaign. So, what is Truth Social? And how much money can it make? A team led by Donald Trump launched Truth Social in the first quarter of 2022, after the former president was permanently banned from Twitter.
Truth Social itself is structured very similarly to X, formerly Twitter. So where X, formerly Twitter, may have a tweet, Truth Social calls those truths. Where X, formerly Twitter, may have a retweet, Truth Social calls those retruths. Generally, they have the same sort of timeline setup.
The idea of Truth Social to begin with was to bring an alternative to liberal platforms.
It has a conservative bent. It was framed from the start around being sort of this bulwark against big tech and woke ideology and liberal media and all the rest of that. And its main revenue, its only revenue in fact, comes from advertising sales.
Truth Social declined to verify its usage data with CNBC and described outside estimates as fake.
Normally, social media companies post KPIs, key performance indicators. They show how many daily active users they have. Trump Media is not posting any of that information right now.
The analytics firm SimilarWeb estimates that TruthSocial.com received 5.3 million total visits in June 2024. Compare that to about 7.3 billion for X.com, formerly known as Twitter.com, and 15.3 billion total visits for Meta's Facebook.com alone, which has had 2 decades to build its audience. This count doesn't include Meta's audiences on Instagram or other platforms. Meta has monetized its audience with a little over $35.6 billion in advertising revenue in the first quarter of 2024. Truth Social earned $770,000 in the same period. Truth Social and other emerging platforms like Rumble and Telegram say they emphasize free speech and creator control of content.
It's super important what Elon did as a nonprofit, but it's going to be tough as a business.
What about Truth Social?
They have a few other problems they have to solve first.
Platforms that do make money and that they are successful is that they appeal to a broad cross-section of all possible users. And on Truth Social, it's pretty much mostly about politics. And that's always going to limit potential user base of the platform.
Truth Social is the primary product of Trump Media and Technology Group. The company describes itself as a powerhouse to rival the liberal media consortium, which it considers to be Meta, Netflix, Alphabet, and Amazon, among others.
Trump Media and Technology Group is the result of this SPAC merger that was just completed in late March.
A SPAC, or Special Purpose Acquisition Company, is somewhat similar to the blank check companies of the 1990s.
These blank check company vehicles were disallowed. SPACs grew out of that as an attempt to originally create a legitimate company with real value.
The entity that backs Truth Social opened its doors to investors on September 8, 2021. Shares were sold at $10 per unit, raising $287.5 million in proceeds.
People that bought when it was tens higher than that have lost a lot of money. So you have the cash in the SPAC combined with Truth Social is now the public company, and the holders, including Trump, now hold shares in that combined company.
The Trump Media Group trades on the Nasdaq, the world's second biggest stock market exchange. It began to trade publicly on March 26, 2024.
It trades on the Nasdaq under the banner DJT, which are Trump's initials. That's how its market capitalization is now numerous billions of dollars, even though its only product doesn't create really much of any revenue at the moment.
In July, Trump Media was added to the Russell 1000 and 3000 indices. the stock traded at about $33 per share at the end of 2024's first quarter, giving it a market capitalization of about $6 billion.
Analysts are often vocally baffled about why the market capitalization for this company is so high. The revenue and the fundamentals of the company just don't reflect that. In its first quarter earnings report, it showed that it had just about $770,000 in revenue, and it posted a net loss of over $327 million. So it's not bringing in a lot of money.
It's $3 million in revenues.
You get $5 billion out of a company that's doing $3 million rev?
That's the numbers as they currently stand.
A lot of analysts say that it is Trump who is the big draw for these retail investors, and there are over 600,000 retail investors who are currently bought into the stock, according to Trump media.
Some market analysts say investing in the company is an act of faith.
I don't know whether the stock is going to go up or go down, but one thing is certain, Donald Trump's going to make a lot of money.
Are they looking at the projections of ad revenue? I kind of doubt it. If they were to look at it, would they believe the projections when ad revenue is very, very low today? I don't know. So I don't know that in this case, the projections are driving the share price. It could be, but I think it's more likely the share price is explained more by the meme stock phenomenon.
Donald Trump owns about 65% of the company behind Truth Social. That stake alone was worth over $3.9 billion at the end of June 2024, not including his warrant options on the same stock.
Trump's stake is huge. He had something like a 57-58% stake in Trump Media, and about a month after the company went public and started trading on the Nasdaq, he got 36 million more shares, and that equates to a couple $1 billion, even as the stock price is swinging wildly up and down, and so it's been a huge windfall for him. So that raises a lot of questions about what Trump sees as the value of this social media company. If he's going to just dump his stake, take the money and run, and leave the company kind of in the lurch, or if he really believes that it is going to do what it says it's going to do, which is create this big bulwark against big tech. But in the meantime, it's been a pretty good trade for him so far.
SEC filings for the company say it could potentially fail to live up to its promise to generate users and advertisers.
Social media traditionally makes money from advertisements and, even more importantly, from harvesting and analyzing and sharing our personal data. Can Truth Social rely on this model for revenue? The short answer is probably not, because the site is so small. It's significantly smaller than Facebook and Twitter and even something like Threads.
There have also been a tangle of other lawsuits, some of which are still ongoing.
Trump Media CEO and former Congressman Devin Nunes suggested that a small group of firms may artificially be driving the stock price lower. He wrote a letter to the Nasdaq saying that over 60% of the stock's trading activity came from 4 firms: Citadel Securities, Virtue Americas, G1 Execution Services, and Jane Street Capital. Truth Social and the companies mentioned did not respond to CNBC's request for comment in time for this report's publication. Truth Social could alter the 2024 election by bolstering the former president's finances and stirring up support among his base.
It solidifies the base for Donald Trump and other right-leaning politicians. They all get together, they support one another, they reinforce each other's beliefs.
Donald Trump could owe as much as $550 million from pending lawsuits.
Trump, earlier this year, was found liable for business fraud in New York. He was ordered to pay a massive multi-$100 million settlement. That's currently being appealed, so he doesn't have to pay that right now. And there's really no specific telling when that bill will come due, if it ever does, because he might win the appeal. And it could be litigated for many more months or potentially years. So in the meantime, if he's able to cash out some of this stake in Trump Media, then he could potentially put that towards some of his legal fees.
The former president could cash out his position as soon as September 2024, according to the lockup agreement between early investors.
I believe that Trump is locked up for 6 months. At that point, he is going to be able to sell his shares. In the meantime, might he have been hedging? Might he have an arrangement with a bank under which he's able to cash out? He's not supposed to under a lockup, typically. If he hasn't done that already, he'll be able to do that in a few months.
Until then, the extent of the impact could be more limited. Truth Social appears to be struggling to grow its US user base. If the stock's price falls below $10 per share ahead of September, the trade could turn out to be a loss for the early investors. Not to mention the bigger losses for the traders who bought at the top.
Certainly, the most followed individual on Truth Social is Donald Trump, and he gets a lot of traction, a lot of engagement for all of his posts on that platform. It solidifies the base for Donald Trump and other right-leaning politicians.
For example, on June 19th, Donald Trump published a truth about Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan had come out against Trump, and Trump was kind of lashing back. The very next day, on June 20th, we saw that hashtag Paul Ryan was trending.
Trump once had an exclusive contract to post on Truth Social, but communicating exclusively on the platform could limit the former president's reach. His account on X, formerly Twitter, has over 87 million followers. On Truth Social, the count is closer to 7 million.
You could say that in a sense this started because of January 6th, the Capitol riot. Within 2 days of January 6th, Trump had been kicked off of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and it was the next month that he started Trump Media and Technology Group. Trump is possibly, arguably, their biggest draw as a company. It's what differentiates them from other right-leaning Twitter clone social media sites. It is what brings a lot of people to the platform.